Well, pack a fat one and sit back and enjoy, folks. It's time for .NET Rocks, the internet audio talk show for .NET developers. As always, in New London, Connecticut, I'm your host, Carl Franklin. And as always, my partner in crime from down south, y'all, Mark Dunn. How you doing, Mr. Dunn?
Woohoo, Carl, man. I am doing great. I'm glad to be in Atlanta tonight, I'll tell you what.
Why not?
That's right. I'm usually on the road, so it's nice to be home this week.
So, yet another tornado session down there, I hear.
Yeah, that's right. My kids just came downstairs to tell me there were tornado warnings. So, if I'm suddenly off the air, you'll know why.
Oh, man. So what have you been doing this week? What's new?
This week I have been maxing and relaxing at home, just getting caught up on some work. And I'm back on the road again next week, teaching classes. Very
good. Well, Mark, I found some news crossing my inbox this week that Microsoft released VisualStudio.net and Office development tools.
Hey, that's good news for those VBA guys out there, eh?
Yeah, Visual Studio for Office, it's called. And that was just June 9th. So apparently, according to their website, which is at msdn.microsoft.com/vstudio/office, these are tools that will provide developers in one box the tools and technologies they need to build the next generation of solutions for the Microsoft Office system.
Cool.
Apparently, we're talking about VBA or something. I don't know too much about it. Let me take a look here. It says Microsoft Visual Studio tools for the Microsoft Office system brings the power and productivity of Visual Studio Net and the .NET framework to business solutions built on Microsoft Office, Word 2003, and Excel 2003. With this technology, developers using VSNet 2003 can use Visual Basic.net and Visual C#.net to write code behind Word and Excel-based applications. So apparently,
hey, that's getting them out of the interop.
Getting them out of the interop and out of the VBA quagmire. So I guess what that means is that your average script developer is going to have to step up to the programming plate a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. They'll have to learn about inheritance and polymorphism and all
those
stuff.
Fun things that give us heartburn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Check it out. We'll give you a link on the show. So the tornadoes haven't hit down yet. They're not a cloudless.
No, the editor's going to have fun with a bunch of thunderclaps in the background.
Well, at least it'll be better than crickets, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know. We can tell a joke later. I'm sure we can get some crickets going.
Okay. Well, anyway, our guest tonight, Mark, and I know you're as excited as I am.
I am always excited, Carl.
You're an excitable person.
Absolutely. I'm an excitable boy.
We have on the line 4 people from the Ineta organization, which is the International .NET Association. And I'm going to let them tell you exactly what Ineta does. But let me introduce them first of all. So starting with Bill Avian. Bill Avian is the executive director and one of the founding members of Ineta and a strong advocate of community learning. He's also president of the St. Louis .NET user group, which he founded in 2000. And that's become one of the largest .NET user groups in the country due to the region's explosive interest in .NET. He's also an author and speaker on .NET and related technologies and has a lot of technical credits as far as books that he's written, and we'll let him talk to you about that. Also on the phone is Brian Losgen, who co-leads the San Diego .NET user group and leads the Web Services SIG of the San Diego Software Industry Council. Brian is a strong believer in the value and importance of user groups in the developer community and has served on the boards of 2 other prominent software developer user groups, including the one he founded. He's an independent contractor based in San Diego and has a broad range of experience in advanced distributed enterprise and mobile solutions. He's co-authored several XML and .NET web services related books and has written lots of technical white papers as well. Also on the phone is Julie Lerman, and she is the founder of the Vermont .NET Users Group and a member of the User Group Relations Committee of Ineta and in charge of the monthly newsletter for the Ineta User Group leaders. Julie has been developing software applications and consulting to businesses for 18 years. She has been an independent contractor for the past 13 years, and she joins us from Vermont tonight. Also on the phone is Jose Barrios, and he is the co-founder of the Miami, Florida .NET User Group and a frequent speaker. He's a member of the User Group Relations Committee also and director of Ineta Latin America. Jose is the founder and CEO of InfoSoft, a software development and consulting firm in Miami. Welcome, people.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Where are we all from tonight? Jose, you're calling from Miami?
That is correct.
And Brian, you're calling from San Diego?
San Diego.
All right. Bill, you're calling from St. Louis. And Julie, you're calling from Vermont.
Yep, over on the East Coast with you guys.
And Mark, of course, is in Atlanta. So, we have quite a group here.
Yeah, we've got the pretty much the U.S. covered here, don't we?
Pretty much. So that's what Ineta is all about, right? A worldwide support group for user groups, is it not, Bill?
Yes, that is exactly what it's about. Ineta is completely focused on supporting user groups around the world, irregardless of their locale or their size. So,
how did Ineta get started?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, user groups are nothing new. So, I mean, people have been gathering around the world because of a collective interest for a long time. It's the same in technology, but user group kind of died down for quite a while, and it took pretty outstanding technology to come along. And once .NET came out, what we saw around the country was .NET user groups started popping up all over the country.
Yeah, I remember they sort of morphed from their Visual Basic and C++ user groups into .NET user groups.
You would think so, but what happened actually was in a lot of places there was less morphing and more just new groups starting. And then the older groups kind of joined in either later or the old groups are still running,
Huh.
So, and that's why some cities, I think it was Dallas, has 5 .NET user groups.
Well, Bill, how many groups are there that you manage?
Ineta supports more than 315 groups.
Wow.
And so we have, with those collective groups, more than 94,000 members that we actually touch and support.
Which user group is the remotest from the United States?
The remotest. Actually, yeah, that's easy. One of our first, we had about 40 groups that joined us originally, and this was one of the groups that joined us originally. It was one of the first .NET user groups in the world as well, and that was Jason Salas's group in Guam.
Guam, wow.
Guam, he has eight members in his user group, and they meet once a month and talk about .NET in Guam. So,
wow, that's fantastic.
One of the places our speakers would love to go.
Wow. Yeah, I'd like to go to Guam.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, the thing is with the user groups is there's a lot of different ways people want to learn technology. So some people like read books. Some people like to just hash out code on their computer and will learn it by trial and error. Some people pay for formal instruction, and some people like to go and get amongst their peers and learn in a group kind of scenario and learn best practices that way. And that's what user groups are really about. It's about people who have this common interest and get together and have a lot of fun and talk tech.
So what are the kind of things that you do? Let me ask Brian this. What are the kinds of programs and services that you offer user groups that they can benefit from?
Well, first and foremost, the biggest thing that we offer is probably our Speakers Bureau, which right now in North America alone, we've grown to about 40 of the top names in the industry. And what Ineta does is we pay to send these people out to a user group. We pick up all their travel and accommodation expenses. We airlift them into a user group, and it could be a remote user group in a very small town, secondary market type town. And we put them there, and we pay for pizza, we pay for soda, the whole deal.
Huh.
And this is at no cost, no obligation, nothing to the user group themselves. So this, as I'm sure you can imagine, is of tremendous value to them.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Now, I know because I'm on the Speaker Bureau myself, but I'm trying to make it interesting for the listener. Who are some of the names of speakers that are on the Speakers Bureau that frequent these user groups?
I don't know. I think there's some guy named Carl Franklin, I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's pretty good. His reviews are all right.
We've gotten a few complaints about him.
Yeah, but we're going to give him a second chance. We're going to keep him for a while. Other people, we've got a lot of the notables like Jeff Procyse, G. Andrew Guthrie, Ken Getz, Paul Sheriff. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
I'm looking at the upcoming speaker engagements at ineta.org. You have Billy Hollis, Brent Rector, Ken Getz, Rocky Lotka, Stephen Walther, Juval Lowy, Michelle LaRue, Deborah Carrata, Aaron Sconnard. Yeah, those are names that we know.
And the purpose of that is we want the best .NET presenters in the world to be on our Ineta Speakers Bureau, because the whole point of the Speakers Bureau is they go out to a user group, and the user group gets somebody they would never, really get in a million years. Let's say if you're in Toledo, and you get Carl Franklin to fly out and speak to you. That's kind of something that wouldn't happen without our help and assistance. And they get their attendance doubled, they get their membership doubled, they get a lot of focus on their user group. It does wonderful things.
That's good. That's great.
To give you an idea of the kind of scale that we're talking about here, we're projecting approximately 140 or so of these speaking engagements this year for North America alone.
Wow.
And this is something that we're replicating in other geographies too.
But Brian can address it. It's not only about the Speakers Bureau, so we do quite a bit more.
Are you doing anything in Europe right now?
In terms of Speakers Bureau, or in terms of just programs in general?
In terms of speakers.
Yeah, Bill, do you want to speak to that, or you want me?
Well, actually, the first word in Ineta is international. And we did, when we started, focus completely on the United States and Canada. And we go, hey, we've got Canada, so we're international. But actually, we've changed and expanded quite a bit internationally over time. We went to Europe first, and Christian Nagel out in Europe leads Ineta Europe. And we've started with a number of groups out there. We've also started in Asia Pacific with Mitch Denny, leading a lot out there. We have Ineta user groups in India, in Pakistan, all over the world. And one of the biggest, actually, and most progressive of our international groups is led by one of the guys on the phone with us, Jose. And he leads Ineta Latam for us.
So, Jose, that puts a spotlight on you here. What has your experience been in Latin America with .NET in general and with the .NET user group?
Actually, it's been very interesting. I'm very fortunate because I'm one of the last comers on the international scene, and right now we're at the forefront. And I think it's something attributable to the Latin American community. Basically, what I feel is that they're all like sponges, and they're really ready to soak up .NET. And it's like they've been waiting for something like this to come along for a long time. So it has made my job a lot easier and even more exciting, and therefore explosive growth. I mean, right now, in the past 5 months, we have signed up close to 40 groups, and we have about another 60 lined up here in the next 2 months. So it's really incredible finding the number of .NET developers that are available in Latin America, and the quality of them as well. It's just marvelous.
We just had a conversation with Jorge Oblitas from Peru, and he was telling us about the great community that's going on there in .NET. I guess it's easy for us to sort of not think about other countries here in America, but there really is a lot of .NET development going on all over the world, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. The main difference about Latin America is that, it's very interesting because I go down there and they ask me, how are we viewed internationally? I go, well, south of Mexico, basically, you guys don't exist. And, it's unfortunate. But what happens is that due to the way in which they work down there, they end up having to do a lot of innovation. So it's very exciting to go to some of these user groups where they meet in remote areas, and they normally, their smallest groups will have 200 members meeting. And when they get together in mass, they have between 12 and 1,400 people. And it's just completely exciting seeing all these developers together and the quality of the knowledge and how they engineer and through ingenuity, they make things go even though they don't have all the resources available.
Yeah.
For example, you were mentioning Jorge Oblitas in Peru. Peru has really opened my eyes up. That was one of the first places I visited. And they really have an exciting community there that was just waiting for people to come along. So they have really embraced Ineta, not only at the local user group level, but also at the academia level. We have a humongous numbers of our university groups.
So the academic world in Latin America is really pushing .NET, is what you're saying?
Yes. What happens is in the Latin countries, they have to fight twice as hard to compete with the image of the fact that they're down there. So a lot of people are usually more scholared. They tend to have higher degrees, and so there's the universities. There's a lot of them. They're really full. Also, the thing to keep in mind is that when we're talking about Latin America, we're not talking about one country. We're talking about over 30 countries.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is the job market look like for .NET developers down there? Are the schools still teaching Java a lot as well, or what's the situation there?
There is a wide mix of technologies down there. Linux has a good hold, as well as some older technologies like COBOL and Foxborough. But .NET is really taking like wildfire and spreading everywhere, and people are adopting it. Also, there's a lot of mobile type applications being developed down there.
Wow, that's great news.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the customers that you've worked with and the industries that you've worked with that you see blossoming down in Latin America in general?
You mean customer in specific or industries?
Industries is what I'm mostly interested in.
Sure. Well, I see the mobile community down there really growing rapidly. I know, for example, that the number of mobile .NET developers in Latin America is 3 times the number in the U.S. Wow. So it's really grown by leaps and bounds. The problems down there, obviously, is that the value of their money, the dollars, they makes the resources down there a lot cheaper. So you have some nearshore and offshore type of engagements happening. But the actual job market is affected a lot. It's not as good as in other regions, but they do get by.
What you mentioned, mobile devices are very hot down there. Is it because that there's more places for them to be useful, or is it because the infrastructure of internet technology and network technology lends itself to mobile bandwidth, or what do you attribute that to?
In my opinion, it's the same thing as Europe. Europe is the number one in the world, together with Japan, in mobile type applications, and a lot of it has to do with the culture and the geography. When you go to a lot of these places, the geography kind of lends itself to mobile type applications.
How so?
For example, in the U.S., we have a much more stronger wire infrastructure. Therefore, we tend to rely less on wireless.
I see. So not as many closer together cities and things like that. Everything's spread out more. Is what you're saying?
Correct. Or? And then you have cities that were built over 1,000 years ago, and so they don't necessarily have the infrastructure.
I see.
Right. So you're looking at applications that are really targeting users to deliver data to them with some sort of mobile device. I usually think about most mobile applications here in the U.S. are things that are industrial. You're going out in a warehouse collecting data. You've got some guy going to collect a meter reading or something with a mobile device. But these are very different apps, I guess, aren't they?
Sure, and you have some of that going on as well. And that's just one of the things going on down there. The reality is that the quality of the developers down there is just as good as here. They just happen to have a different language as their primary language.
So
they do have huge markets with a lot of industries. And there's none in particular that I can pinpoint that's being the highest growth. But I've seen, for example, petrochemical industry sort of growing. The manufacturing industry, definitely. There's a lot of manufacturing going on in Central America and South America.
What is your .NET user group like? How many people are in it?
In our user group in Miami, it's kind of rough. In our geography down here, to get from one end of the town to the other, it can take you upwards of an hour and a half in traffic time. So we have been playing around with different locations, but we can get anywhere from 50 to 100 people, and when we have a big event, we can pile in 150 or so.
Very cool.
An hour and a half to get across town, that's like getting across all of Vermont.
Well, now let's hear from Julie. How are you, Julie?
Hey, Carl. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Doing all right. Still a little cold here, though.
Yeah, it is.
Not summer yet.
True. We're actually very close here, and in terms of geography, relative to the other people. You're only 4 or 5 hours away from me, whereas Mark would be a good drive, 12 or so.
Yeah, I better fly if I go to Vermont.
We have an airport. It's even called an international airport, so it's made it easy for the speakers to come in. Some of them are surprised.
Is that just what it's called, or is it really an international airport?
Well, maybe the international, like Ineta started out as international with flights in from Canada or something.
Yeah. So what's the vibe in Vermont?
There's a lot more going on here than I think a lot of people would know. And it's funny because listening to Jose reminds me of how interesting it is for me to hear about what's going on in Latin America, because that is a surprise to me. We always hear, what goes on in the news. People look at Vermont and, they think we're all farming or hippies or whatever. And, we have T1 lines. We have all, cable. In Burlington, actually, there's all kinds of high-tech companies, big businesses.
You have cheese. I mean,
cheese, but we've also got some really cool and big companies like Ben & Jerry's, Burton Snowboards, companies like that. So it's cool. That's the vibe in Vermont. It's cool. And
Vermont is very cool.
I hear the skiing's good up there. Is that right?
It wasn't this past year. I think you guys had more snow in Atlanta than we did here.
Certainly more tornadoes.
Northern Vermont. We got Chris Kinsman, who was on the Ineta Speakers Bureau, actually. He was here in October to speak to our user group at leaf peeping time. And he actually said, hey, can I come back in March, go skiing? So we got to get him to come back in March.
Great.
I think it was on his ticket, too. He just wanted to come. From Redmond. He lives all the way in Seattle.
Wow. Since you've got, some industry names coming to speak, have you seen dramatic growth in the user group due to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was incredible. As a matter of fact, it started in October with Chris. We started the user group in February of 2002, and we were averaging about 15 people at a meeting, or as I'm known to say, butts in chairs.
Right.
And when Chris came first, we had about 40 people. And we, had been sliding up to maybe about 20 at a meeting. We had 40 people, but what was cool about that meeting was a lot of people who had never come to meetings before were exposed to the user group and went, wow, we had no idea that this was going on here.
They said, wow.
There were so many people with this kind of information, et cetera.
And the pizza, I mean.
It's not all about the pizza, but sometimes when, you're looking for somebody to pay for it, it feels like it's all about the pizza. But after Chris was here, then the user group people started joining, and people got really engaged and really excited about what was going on. And so I finally got a real core of maybe about 15 people. They're at every single meeting, no matter what. Plus, they're really excited about the user group and doing a lot of things. We just had Ken Getz come in April. There were 48 people there. I mean, this is Vermont, not Boston. That's a lot. That's a huge amount. And we had 47 people 2 nights ago. We had, it was kind of a funky meeting. A lot of things were going on. But we had Keith Please and Tom Robbins, who's from the Microsoft New England office. And there was 47 people there. But not only did we have pizza, we had cake. So, that could have something to do with it.
And Ben and Jerry's, I'm sure.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got to ask you, if you're an average guy out there listening to the show, and you've never been to a user group meeting, what would you say are some of the benefits, aside from hearing a great speaker, to being a member of a user group?
Oh, you can have a social life.
That's important, actually.
How many computer people have other computer people to talk about? My husband's a carpenter. I'm like, he comes home like, honey, I solved this problem today. It was really cool. You had no idea what it was like, and I feel so smart. And he doesn't get it,
Yeah.
And it's great to have other people who have the same interest and are excited, or the same things make them crazy. And I've actually a lot of us have become friends. It's more than just going to the meeting and hearing the speaker and getting some free pizza and then going home.
This is not like Tech Ed, so.
Yeah, if you're a consultant, it's a great place to network, too. I see a lot of that going on at various user groups.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, it's funny. I'm not looking for. I'm in a really nice position as a contractor, and I'm not looking for work. But I like to network people. I love putting people together. So that's really a lot of fun. I've actually helped people companies, everybody comes to me now.
I get a headache from you. You make my eyes damn you. I can't break away from you just yet. You taste like a barn on fire, fulfilling no desire, like someone I wish I never met. Cigarette, I look for comfort, but you only bring regret. Cigarette, even the Surgeon General's warning scares me half to death. It takes a fool to get addicted. Cigarette. And that brings me to this question. You and Jose are both on the user group relations committee. What is that? What does that job entail? I mean, does that just mean like you're answering the email from all the user group leaders and sending out memos to them and communicating with them? And what does that entail typically?
Jose, do you want to answer that? Or do you want me to?
Sure. I mean, typically we ask for bribes in order to approve them.
Pizza. It's always pizza, though.
Well, for me, I usually ask for alcohol.
You and Jorge, man.
oh my God, Jorge, he brought that. What was
Pisco.
it? The Peruvian,
the Pisco sour.
Oh, he brought some pretty good stuff to tack in.
Yeah, I'm
to the party.
I'm upset because nobody actually got it to me, which is why he brought it. He couldn't find Todd to give it to him. We're talking about a tech ed.
I think that was gone by the end of the RD.
Yeah.
So that the User Group Relations Committee is actually growing and growing. What we do is we are basically the main point of contact between user group leaders and Ineta. So they have somebody that they can have a relationship with, and they just really know who to contact if they have any questions, etc. Also, when user groups apply to become members of Ineta, somebody on the User Group Relations Committee will check it out, see if it's really a user group, make sure it's not somebody who, just wanted to have Billy Hollis come to his house for dinner for free one night. So we check them out. Sometimes they're established user groups. They've got a website, and it's really easy to see that, they're really a .NET-focused user group, and they're around, and they're having monthly meetings.
Now, Keith,
sometimes their user groups are people who are interested in starting up a user group. So with those, we may not make them an Ineta member right away, but we kind of try to help them through the process of starting a user group. But we don't totally handhold them because you've got to make sure it's somebody who's got that passion. If we just say, here's a user group, and they're not into it, it'll be gone. It'll be gone real fast.
Now, I heard a story from Keith Please, down at Dev Connections in New Orleans, that there was a group that he went to with Paul and did something. And I'm not going to say where it was, but it was like in this guy's apartment with 7 people and, a light hanging from the ceiling that was like...
you can say. They're proud of that.
Yeah, they like that.
Manny's group in New Orleans.
There's a New Orleans .NET user group doing a New Orleans style.
They're sitting around on milk crates, with a PowerPoint slide.
Well, like Bill was saying.
Manny, if you're listening to this, we're laughing with you.
No, man, I think Manny's pretty proud of that. I think it excited a lot of people too, because one of the things about Ineta is, unlike many other areas in our lives, it's not about size. Size doesn't matter.
Actually, Keith was telling me he thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was cool, and everybody's excited. And Manning's actually going to build a nice big group in New Orleans. And you've heard from Julie, and we've talked about Manning, but we do support small groups, but we also support big groups around the world. Like Oliver's group in San Francisco. He runs Bay.net. It's one of the largest user groups in the world. and they have regular meetings with quite a number of people. I forget what the average attendance is, but it's way up there, and they have quite a number of volunteers supporting them as well.
It brings me to a question: how do you get your money?
Money.
Well,
we don't have any money, which is goodwill from the airlines.
I'll step in here. We're always looking for more money.
We depend on sponsorships from major vendors. I wonder who that might be.
Let's go and mention some.
Well, Microsoft is our charter sponsor.
No.
Meaning that they were our original sponsor and our first sponsor. So we also have Brinkster as one of our sponsors. They're our hosting sponsor. And
Great.
We have actually quite a number of other sponsors. So
you want to give any of them a shout? This would be a good time to do it.
Okay, Brian?
Other sponsors that we have right now is NetIQ. And we are also just now going out and looking for new sponsors. So this is we're in a great space. We were thinking of trying to find additional sponsors earlier on in our life cycle. However, we had a little bit of a credibility gap because we've only been around since February of last year, of 2002.
Right.
So at that point, all we had was like vision and plans. We didn't have any results. But now everyone can see the explosive growth that we've shown, and we've built a very powerful organization very quickly. We've helped a lot of people. We've spread the word, and a lot of people have heard about us and seen our name around. So
True.
We are expecting to add a lot of sponsors over the next coming months, starting in the next coming month.
And somebody can get in touch with who if they want to talk to you about sponsorship?
They could contact me, which is brian.losgan@ineta.org.
Okay.
And if they go to ineta.org, they'll see my name on the management page.
Great.
Hey, Carl, and it's if you think about it, I mean, one of the main things, we actually do quite a bit more than speakers. We talked about the Speakers Bureau and stuff, but just even the Speakers Bureau, if you think about it, if we're flying a couple hundred people around here, right? Do the math.
Yeah, it adds up.
Right. So we do need help and sponsorship in doing that aspect of the business. Ineta, though, is run completely on volunteerism. So Brian, myself, and the board, our 60-plus user group leaders that are working on committees and working in Ineta, that's all volunteerism.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That feels great.
I just became a volunteer myself.
Yeah, it's a user group of user groups, basically.
What's this, Mark?
Mark, you did?
Yes, I sent, let's see, his last name was Muhammad. I just sent him an email offering to help out in any way I can.
You rock.
Well, thank you.
Just like .Net, huh?
Now, there's something you guys are forgetting. You guys are forgetting also about some of the other benefits, like the wonderful swag.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that, next to the Speakers Bureau, that's probably our next most popular item, is that we act as a focal point and a conduit between the thriving .NET third party and the user groups. So to give you an example, we did the first one last October, and we called it the Winter Warm-Up. What we did was we contracted with a fulfillment house, and then we contacted a bunch of vendors and said, hey, do you guys want to get some product out to the user groups? Do you want to give them products to use as raffle prizes, just things that they can do to promote their company and also help promote the user group that the user group can use to promote membership? So we contacted a whole bunch of companies. We had them drop ship to the fulfillment house, and then Ineta paid to have the shipments broken out into individual shipments and to ship them all across North America.
Wow.
So that's approximately 140 shipments that we sent throughout North America.
I believe our resource CD was one of those pieces of swag. And
Right.
Also I want to mention that our VP of Sales at Franklin's Net and Marketing, Todd Follansby, is one of the volunteers in your marketing department.
Right. That's true.
And a hell of a dancer, too.
Hell of a dance. Apparently he doesn't ride a rodeo bull very well, though.
No.
I got the evidence.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning, our presence at TechEd. That's another thing we do. We bring a group of user group leaders together. We're trying to do it twice a year, but it's like once every 9 months maybe. We bring user group leaders together for a conference, an Ineta conference, where we kind of share best practices. We help each other with our groups. We get to know each other. We network like crazy. We introduced user group leaders to the people they need to know in Microsoft and, in book publishing and magazines. And so they're kind of getting out into the community and spreading their, love and enthusiasm for .NET even further beyond their own user group. So TechEd was very successful for us. We had close to 60 .NET user group leaders at TechEd from around the world. It was amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. So let me ask each of you, starting with Julie, what is your favorite thing about .NET? I know that you're all technical, and that may not come across because we're all talking about Ineta all the time. But why don't I ask you, as a programmer or as a technician, what you like best about .NET? Julie.
Oh, on the spot. I'd have to say, coming from a VB6 background and heavy desktop applications, I love that I can really get my hands onto creating software for all kinds of media now. I can, write applications for Pocket PC. I've really been able to leverage a lot of my skills and move over to doing ASP.NET stuff and mobile, everything. And I love being able to have my hands. And I have to say, I'd say the biggest for me downside is that it's the first time I've ever been exposed to so many C developers who are now C# developers, and I've never taken so much bashing before in my life for being a VB developer. I didn't know. I thought it was good.
It is good. It is good.
Yeah, I knew Carl would back me up there.
Don't let him scare you.
I'm a VB guy too, Julie. This is good.
Don't let him scare you, Julie.
Yeah, let's turn this into a big VB C# discussion.
Oh, that's coming up on another show.
Hey guys, they both suck. J#.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, this is our this is what we choose to use. It's what works for me, what I know. I have to tell you, I had to write one day. I have a blog on .NET weblogs, and I was at my friend's house, and she's a Java programmer for IBM, and we were sitting next to each other. I had my laptop, and I was in Visual Studio .NET, and she was sitting there working in what's it called?
WebSphere?
WebSphere.
Yeah.
And we were sitting right next to each other, and I just kept looking over going, oh, that's cool. It looks like what I'm doing. And she looked at mine, she's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's like what I do. So It's not just C# and VB. Java and Microsoft people can get along well, too.
Can't we all just get along?
It's all about love.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've never met a Java guy.
Well, Brian, why don't I ask you what you like about .NET?
Ooh, I got to pick one thing? That's tough. If I had to pick one thing, I guess it would be the fact that it's such a unified environment now. The fact that you can move code so easily between like a web app and a Pocket PC app and to a desktop app.
Okay, now let me get an original thought.
What do you mean original thought? Okay,
That's what
my
Julie
latest
said.
cool thing that I really like in this space is BizTalk, the new BizTalk.
Hey, that's good.
That they showed off last week at TechEd for the first time publicly.
Yeah, I wish I had seen that. That's the new integrated with all the back office stuff, right?
It is awesome. It's integrated with pretty well everything.
Yeah.
So it's integrated into Visual Studio. It integrates with InfoPath. It's just very, very cool.
Is this BizTalk 2003?
No, that's BizTalk 2004.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a big BizTalk fan.
Yeah, he's.
You're going to love this. If you like the last one, this one is just a quantum leap from where it used to be.
So, Brian, let me ask you this. Are web services as big as Microsoft types them to be?
Well, it's not just Microsoft typing them. As you know, it's pretty well the entire industry is typing them. And in my opinion, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were talking earlier about why can't we all just get along? Well, here's a way that we can all get along. There's a project that I did earlier this year where we were communicating with a mainframe, and we just exposed some web services. And it was great, and then we just kept on going with the project.
I used to tell people that the only reason you'd use web services is to integrate with other platforms, and that's not necessarily true anymore. I'm not saying that anymore because they're so easy to create. And I've done some performance testing against remoting and things, and while they may be more of a hit the first time you access them, they're pretty damn fast once you get things going. If you have, if you have the right stuff. So I'm telling people that, if time to market is critical, and you need to integrate either or and, web services are definitely a good thing. And also, they're evolving. They're going to get faster. They're going to get better. They're going to have more features, etc. So
yeah,
it's a
and
good
if
thing.
there's any chance that you may ever need to expose that little chunk of software functionality to other applications,
Right.
if you do it as web services, then you're good to go.
Okay, Jose, you're next. What's your favorite feature?
For me, the coolest feature, I'm also a BB guy, and I find web forms to be really exciting. I've been waiting for something like that for a long time. And the reason why I like it so much is because finally we have something that now can enable us to do programming for the third generation of the Internet. We can now do real full-fledged applications as opposed to things on the web that look like applications but are not.
Yeah, very true.
Here, here.
To me, that's very exciting. And then with all this, the other thing that I find very exciting is that .NET now allows everybody to work in a global market. We nowadays, that's what we have to think about. It's a global market, not just a localized market. And with .NET, that becomes more of a reality.
That's very true. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Okay, Bill.
Yes. So my favorite thing in .NET, well, actually, Jose kind of, it's a cool thing. So there's going to be more than one of us. First of all, I'd like to say I'm a VB developer also.
Yeah.
Yay!
And
you have to be a VB developer to be an Ineta then, huh?
You do?
Well, first of all, ASP.NET, I came from a web background, and ASP.NET really, really is the coolest thing since sliced bread. What Mr. Guthrie and team have done.
Oh, God.
Outstanding.
Did you see the demo of the next ASP.NET that Scott did?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so incredible. And, I mean, when back in ASP3 days, ASP3 and PHP were pretty on par with capabilities and such in my mind. But just ASP.NET just blows them both away. It's amazing. And the thing was, I remember I used to do a lot of ASP3 programming, and I used to do so much dang form validation. Just drive me, I kept all my scripts. I kept using the same scripts over and over, and had to do all sorts of funky form validation. It's just so easy now, and that's just one little thing, right? So
yeah, drag and
there's a
drop.
million things in .NET that or in ASP.NET that make me excited. So
how about there was one of those validators a lot of people don't realize is the regular expression validator.
Oh, I know.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
It's
Talk
just
about
so
saving
cool.
some code.
And then you can go to that regexlib.
Yeah, regexlib.net and plug in
.net,
the
right.
400 regular expressions. Just plug them right in.
Right.
I do that in class. I go to the site, cut and paste, copy it in, boom, 5 seconds.
Right.
We're using it.
I mean, and it's just getting better. I mean, ASP.NET 2 is going to be just as revolutionary. I mean, it's getting cooler and cooler and cooler,
For those of you who didn't hear, I think it was Jorge's show, wasn't it, Mark, where we talked about this?
I believe you're right.
Yeah. We saw this, and we're going to have Scott on to talk about this pretty soon. But in ASP 2.0, which I guess is scheduled to be released with the next version of Visual Studio.NET, although I can't tell you exactly when, but he said it was going to be at least a year or so, that you just drag a table onto your web form and you get a grid. And you set a allow sorting property and it sorts. And you set an allow paging property and it pages.
Yeah,
and
you
then
don't have to do all that code
yeah.
behind for it anymore.
And then you set like an editing feature, and you have editing and updating capabilities into the database.
Yeah, the one thing he did say was that the code is, you're going to code, you're going to be using 50 to 75% less code
right.
than you did in ASP.NET 1.0.
And
as a matter of fact, I was listening to that interview the other night, and I remember hearing that. But one of the things that I find, there's I guess arguments whether it's something good or bad at the end of the day. But to me, it's something that now finally allows the developers to concentrate on working on the problem instead of concentrating on the actual tool.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think there's a whole culture of developers who would be very happy with the most impossible problem that they have to spend the next 50 years trying to solve. You know what I'm saying? They just want to be left alone to tweak and twiddle and code and diddle around. And, that might be fine for fun, but, in the real world you have to produce.
Correct.
And what Jose says about the tools is evidenced pretty well if you look at the ASP.NET forums, the kinds of questions people are asking. A lot of that will go away with ASP.NET too.
Hey, is Marcy Robillard, the data grid girl, coming to Vermont soon?
She is. Are you kidding me? She and her husband Eli have just moved to Toronto, and she's from out west, so she says it's only a 7-hour drive to Vermont. That's nothing. So she's scheduled for November.
She's now talking at Tech Ed Barcelona and another international Tech Ed. I can't remember where.
Actually, I don't think it's Barcelona. She's going to be in Brisbane in Australia and in New Zealand.
Oh, that's it. Australia, New Zealand.
Not Barcelona, though.
Talk about...
Yeah, she's flying.
Talk
she's
about
a
a marketing whiz.
I'm so excited for her.
Very much. And smart kid, too. Very smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that, too.
Yeah.
It never hurts to be smart.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, Julie, we have some other stuff that you guys are working on about this, the .NET babes, or the women of .NET.
Oh,
what is this?
Yeah, it's kind of hush-hush right now. I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing, but first I'll tell you why we're not talking too much about it.
Okay.
And maybe edit out later.
We can edit all of this.
After I think about it. The reason we're not talking too much about it yet is because we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do, and we don't want to have a lot of expectations coming out before we even have figured out what we're doing. So, we want to do something pretty strong. But it is, as it gels, based on an issue I've been having and a lot of other women developers have been having, is that everywhere you look, you go to a conference, there's 50 speakers, one of them is a woman. You go to, it's in the writing, in the magazines, publishing the books, et cetera, you just don't see a lot of women around. So, but the funny thing is that there are a lot of women programming, but I think a lot of them are pretty shy about speaking up and being visible. So we're talking about trying to create a space where it is more encouraging for women to feel comfortable about, making themselves heard and getting out there and speaking and putting themselves out in public.
I think that's a great idea.
We got a lot of interesting people very excited about it, too. So it'll definitely happen. But it's just another one of those side volunteer in my free time pet project. So it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Well, we'll catch up with you later on that project.
Cool.
So what does the future look like for Ineta? Are you guys planning to grow? Are user groups planning? You foresee a big surge in the user group attendance as the economy picks up? How are you going to handle all this based on volunteer efforts, or are you?
Well, Ineta is growing internationally actually right now quite a bit. In the U.S., we're not seeing so much growth anymore. I mean, we have almost 200 user groups that we're supporting in the United States and Canada, and most of the areas are covered. There are new ones popping up every now and then, but it's now coming down to how do we support, when you look at America and Canada only, how do we support them now the best we can? That's more of the focus. Internationally, this is kind of our first year for international, so we're looking at, what we did in the U.S. and Canada a year ago and took the lessons learned, basically, and applying a lot of things we learned to these international regions. And we're growing like crazy internationally. So that's where our biggest focus is.
Are you taking the speakers that are on the current bureau and sending them to international engagement?
Well, no, that's not the goal, really. The goal is for us to create regional speakers bureaus. So like Jose has a LATAM Speakers Bureau. But there are occasions where we will send a person who's helped us out quite a bit on our own Speakers Bureau, and we'll send them to somewhere else to create a lot of excitement in that region. An example of that would be Jeff Brosize. He's been an outstanding volunteer for the community and for Ineta, and so he's going down for us to Australia to do a 6-city user group tour for us.
I also heard a rumor that Don Box was doing a tour. Is he doing a tour?
Don Box is a Microsoft employee, so he doesn't do anything through Ineta. if you look at our speakers bureau, you'll notice they're all non-Microsoft employees.
Okay.
In fact, we kind of joke around that we're the recruiters for Microsoft because a lot of our speakers bureau members have been getting hired by Microsoft as of late.
Right.
So, like Don Box, we lost Don Box. He was on our speakers bureau. We lost Chris.
Osley.
Yeah, Osley. We lost Chris Sells. We lost Yasser. So
They're dropping like flies.
Yeah, we're not a recruitment center for Microsoft, though. Let me dispel that rumor right away.
For that?
Now, we do sometimes do special events where we kind of bend the rules a little bit and do things a little bit differently, like an event that we did in the Bay Area in conjunction with the Bay.net user group, where we did facilitate a meeting with Don Box as a speaker.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's not our normal program, though.
But he's not on the bureau, and of course. There you go. Well, it's very cool. So I'm going to open up the microphones before we take off because it's getting close to the end of the hour here, to let you guys give shout-outs to any user group presidents or members that are out there listening that you wanted to mention.
Shout out. You want me to yell?
Shout. Top of your lungs.
What do you want us to do? Say hi to them or what?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Huh?
Just so their name's on the radio?
Yeah, exactly. Give them a little thrill.
Okay, well, yeah, we can, some of our top volunteers in Ineta, top user group leaders or speakers, I'll just name a few and then we can kind of go around. Chris Goldfarb, who's from the Portland.net user group, and we got Rob Foster from the Nashville.net user group and also working on our academic committee. We've got Jason Perez from the Miami group.
Who's also on the Speaker Bureau.
Right, and he's a new member on the Speakers Bureau. And he's a big volunteer for us. And actually, I'm trying to think of a different region. Oliver from the Bay.net group, he's been working with us, and he's passing along a lot of what he learns from Bay.net to other user groups. So,
what about Devin?
Yep.
Devin Rader.
You go ahead.
Devin Rader, who co-leads the group with Bill in St. Louis.
Right.
Yeah, Devin, I'm going to have to give up being the Ineta poster child, I think, to Devin pretty soon.
Yeah, Devin is one of our top volunteers. He just does a tremendous amount of work for us.
Wow.
Dave Totsky, outside of Toronto.
Yeah, we call him Swagman.
Swagman.
Swagman. Because he goes out and just, talks to third-party vendors and works on getting them to support user groups with cool swag, basically. Because it is cool when you go to user groups meetings. One of the main things user groups do is at the end of the meeting, they give out swag to their attendees in a drawing or something of that sort.
Pens that light up.
Programmers are pretty cheap. They like free stuff.
They like pens that light up.
Stuff at user groups.
Okay, who else?
Especially when you combine programmer and Vermonter. I mean, Vermonters
I think it's a worldwide thing.
I don't say cheap. I think they say, I can't think of the word.
They say, hey, I want cheddar cheese on this pizza.
Hey, we got the best cheddar cheese in the world, and you can tell that to Brian Tinkler.
Hey, we don't have pizza. We don't have pizza at our St. Louis user group meetings. We have toasted ravioli. So.
Ah.
And beer.
Yeah,
So
right in the center of Anheuser-Busch here. So.
I have a tip for you. If Dino Esposito comes to speak at any of these, serve ribs, because he loves barbecue.
No Italian food, huh?
He loves barbecue. Yeah.
He loves Southern barbecue.
Oh,
yeah.
God, would he be fun? Have you anybody ever seen him speak?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's
great.
great.
Oh, my God, he is so entertaining.
Yeah, he's great.
So I just sit there and giggle through the whole thing, but at the same time, I learn so much.
Yeah.
The clarity is amazing when all this other stuff is going on.
He's probably going, why are they laughing at me?
Oh, I've never...
No, we're
talk
not
about
laughing at Dino.
somebody who's passionate about programming. And we
he's
bring
brilliant.
the Italian passion. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Yep.
It's like sexy. Programming sexy. Or code.
Yep.
Okay, Julie said that.
It was Julie.
Julie's probably going to request that be edited out later on.
Oh, no. I would
Denied.
never say something.
Denied.
Something that I wouldn't want repeated. Like Michelle.
Right. Well, she's a
No
legend
Italian
now.
jokes here.
That's right. So
You
who?
don't have a dirty joke for us, Julie, huh?
Oh, no, not me. I'm a good girl. I live in Vermont.
Okay, I got a joke for you.
Sure.
I spent a lot of time in Finland, okay? And this is a joke I heard there, because they have this thing against the Swedes for some reason. I don't know how
I've
you
heard
hate
that.
Swedes, but, So why do all the trees in Finland point towards Sweden? because Sweden sucks.
Oh, that is bad. That's not even funny. I mean, that's just bad.
Pathetic.
I don't know.
Maybe,
I thought it was
maybe
pretty
it just
funny.
doesn't translate well.
Because the trees break wind in Sweden.
That might be a little closer.
Yeah.
So what other user group leaders should we say their names? Well, we should mention my co-chair on the User Group Relations Committee, Ruth Walther. Dave Noderer, who's been the chair and is also a board member, is now just a board member. So it takes two of us to do his job as the chair of the committee.
To be
We
bored.
got Andrew Filov in in St. Petersburg,
St.
Russia.
Petersburg. Oh, what a cool guy he is. It
Right.
was fun to see all these people from all over the world when we had our meeting at TechEd.
Yeah. Christian
That's
Nagel
great.
heads a lot of the Austrian groups.
Okay.
And we also have some non-user group leaders, for instance, Todd, and also Sarah Fox, who is now the new chair of the marketing committee and is with Brinkster, and who has given us tremendous support.
And Keith, please.
Right. Keith, is he the head of the Speakers Bureau, or does he pick the speakers, or what is...
No, actually the speakers are chosen on a committee by a committee of people.
Okay.
And they actually go through a lot of different criteria to kind of narrow the list down.
Does he do nominating or something?
Yeah, there's nominating, or people who've just actually asked. We kind of put them on the list, and then we narrow it down based on a number of people who choose in a committee to pick the best .NET presenters. I mean, the whole goal is, like I said, to get user groups excited about who's coming to visit them. So you got to be real careful about who you choose.
Now, to tell you the truth, Todd has his own office, and he conducts his business with Ineta in there. I don't really know what he does for you. So what has Todd been doing for Ineta in terms of marketing? Todd Fallensby, that is.
Todd's on the marketing committee, and as such, the marketing committee meets regularly. We meet every week and basically talk about a whole bunch of different programs that we're currently doing, and things that are planned for the future to just kind of keep up the momentum, get the Ineta name out there, and to keep providing real value, real services to the user group.
That's great. Good.
I think we should also not forget our friends at Microsoft who have been so supportive of Ineta, Eric Ewing and Kevin Briotti especially.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they've been with us since the very beginning. So they've been with us all the way since the very beginning, and were the main supporters from Microsoft of Ineta, and actually made Ineta happen, because they have their own, evangelism they need to do for Ineta inside Microsoft, and it's a huge company. So they go around getting us support and getting people to listen to what we're about inside, and so we've gotten quite a bit of support from Eric and Kevin on this.
Wow, that's
and without
great.
Eric and Kevin, there would be no Ineta.
That's for dang sure.
That's true. Now, for Latin America, I would like to Eric is a big influence. I also have Federico Raggi with Microsoft Latin America. He's a big-time supporter of us down there. And I know this is an international show, so I just wanted to remind the listeners, those that haven't heard of it yet, to look in their individual countries, but look for the 5-Star Developer Program and Panorama Box, two very exciting programs in Latin America.
Okay. Great.
Hey, and for your listeners, you know how they find a user group near them? They go to ineta.org, and we have a whole catalog of searchable user groups, and they can find the one next to them and go and attend and have fun, eat pizza, talk technology, and have a good time.
The list of member groups on the Ineta website is also a great place for people who would like to speak at user groups but maybe aren't on the Speakers Bureau committee to go and see what user groups are nearby, or if they're traveling, go take a look and see if there's a user group in the place you're going to if you're not on vacation and you want to go talk. You don't have to be a member of the Speakers Bureau to speak at a user group.
What if somebody goes to the website and they don't see a user group in their area, and they think, you know what, I got some free time, I'm out of a job, I'd like to be the president of a local user group. How can I get one going?
We can definitely help them. They can contact the User Group Relations Committee, and there's email address right on the website to get in touch with us, and we can give all kinds of ideas. And most of the people who are in Ineta are user group leaders and are really excited about leading user groups and love to find other people who have that excitement. So we are so happy to encourage them. There's a CD full of all kinds of information on starting up a user group. And we also have forums on the Ineta website. And anybody can join the forums and ask questions and read different things that people have said. And believe me, if you're really interested in doing it, you can find a lot of encouragement inside of Ineta to help you along the way.
Okay. Well, just a couple final shouts from me. One is to my buddy Chris Pells up there at the .NET user group of Greater Boston.
He's my bud, too.
Yep, great guy, and a superior XML-igist, and if that's a word. And Scott Locke and Brian Noyes down in the DC user group, the capital area user group. And let's see, who else do I know? Of course, Mike Smulka in the Connecticut Microsoft office there, who has a user group in Connecticut, in the Hartford area. And Alan Cutting in the Rhode Island .NET user group. Just a shout out for those guys. They're my local buds, and want to mention their names. Well, if that's all we got, that's all we got. Looks like we're out of time. So final thoughts, anybody, before we shut down?
Go to a user group meeting and have fun.
Yeah, eat pizza.
I gotta say, I'm just glad you guys are doing this. I mean, this is a brilliant idea. It speaks well that you're willing to volunteer your time and get something like this going.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us on the show. This is great.
Well, hopefully more people will come out to the groups, and thanks to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right,
Thanks
we'll see you later.
Guys.
Good night now.